Are you thinking about playing Yu-Gi-Oh's GOAT format? Or maybe you have a friend that you want to convince to play with you? Well, today, guys, I've got the top 5 reasons that people play and love GOAT format. Welcome to GOAT Duels. I'm ACP, but before we get started with those top 5 reasons, I know some of you might want to know, what exactly is GOAT format? I think the easiest way to explain GOAT format is just to compare it to WoW Classic. WoW Classic is simply taking the popular MMO World of Warcraft and changing it back to the way that it existed all the way back in 2006. GOAT format is essentially the same thing. You're just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! With the rules and card pool that existed in 2005. So instead of linking up monsters, we're slinging scapegoats and pot of greeds. And by the way, GOAT format gets its name from the card Scapegoat, a classic control card that remains popular in GOAT format today. Our first reason to play GOAT format is money. We need it, we love it, and we don't like constantly having to shell it out to play the games that we love. Well, I've got good news for you. GOAT format is just so much cheaper than Yu-Gi-Oh's advanced format. There's no $50 or $100 staples, and most of the popular cards in the format are easily accessible as commons. Yeah, a couple of staples are a little bit pricey like Delinquent Duo, but that is nothing compared to dropping the cash for 3 copies of advanced format's high-flying secret rares. But perhaps even more importantly, remember that GOAT format's card pool never changes. So that means that once you buy a card, that's it, you're done. You don't have to worry about it getting banned, it can only be reprinted. And Konami does reprint GOAT format cards from time to time, which means that there are always going to be more opportunities to pick up the cards in the format. And let me tell you, it is just such a relief to not have to go through the cycle of figuring out what the hot cards from the latest set are going to be and then trying to obtain them without it costing you an arm and a leg. This ties into our second reason, which is that by joining the GOAT format community, you get to be totally free from the influence of Konami. GOAT format is a grassroots community of people saying, no thank you Konami, we'd like to play the game our way. Because of this, it actually gets compared a lot to the community of Super Smash Bros. Melee. We organize our own tournaments, we make our own rules, we make our own content, and we introduce new people to the game. So if the idea of giving the finger to a multi-billion-dollar gaming company appeals to you, then you should give GOAT format a shot. We are building an awesome community here. Our third reason is nostalgia. Be honest, guys, did you feel something a little good inside watching those old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime clips from earlier in the video? If so, then GOAT format might be for you. A lot of people actually like to play GOAT format just because it reminds them of a simpler time all the way back when Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually had Yugi in it. A time when people summoned Blackluster Soldier instead of whatever the hell these are. In a way, GOAT format players are kind of like the Amish community of Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, maybe I'm not selling this very well. We're more like the Jedi of Yu-Gi-Oh!, using elegant weapons from a more civilized age. Which leads us into reason number 4. GOAT format's gameplay is drastically different from advanced format Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. Advanced format tends to be more about executing big combos and disrupting your opponent's combos. It's quite normal for a player to assemble massive fields on the first turn that the opponent struggles to deal with. On the other hand, GOAT format is centered around tactics, and it's very rare for the first few turns of a game to feature some massive game-changing combo. Key decisions instead are things like whether to summon or set a monster, or how many traps to set this turn. The typical GOAT format game is centered around card advantage and life points as a resource. Playing around your opponent's power cards like Mirror Force is also hugely important in GOAT format. Yes, there are some similarities to modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Of course, like the basic rules, but there are just as many differences. The nice thing about GOAT format is that if you're someone who already owns a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, This now gives you another way to play the game if you get tired of advanced format. And most TCGs do have multiple competitive formats to cater to people with different preferences, and GOAT format is filling that role for Yu-Gi-Oh players. And last, but certainly not least, one of the biggest things that keeps people playing GOAT format year after year is because of its diverse meta. On one hand, yes, GOAT format's card pool never changes, so you might think that after a few months, everyone would just get bored of it. In advanced format, Konami has to print new cards and ban old cards as a way to artificially keep the meta fresh. But GOAT format's meta is actually always fresh due to the fact that it's just genuinely well balanced, with plenty of counterplay to whatever happens to be popular at any given moment. You look at the top GOAT format deck list from one year to the next, and you will always notice some pretty substantial differences. And yeah, sure, you got those people occasionally that will claim that GOAT format is solved and they've figured out how to beat everything, but those proclamations have just always aged so poorly in the past. Yes, of course, GOAT format has a top tier, like any other game, which historically has consisted of Chaos, Warriors, and GOAT control. But it is not the case at all that you have to play the meta or you're not going to do well in tournaments. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes being aggressive with zombies and you want to try that in GOAT format. Well, guess what? Zombies have won tournaments. Or maybe you like tributing your monsters for some nice beefy monarchs. Well, then you'd be pleased to know that monarchs have won GOAT format tournaments too. Or maybe you're a combo player and you like the idea of assembling a swarm of beast monsters with Rescue Cat. Well, it turns out that Rescue Cat has won its fair share of tournaments too. So if you know how to play your cards well and you can make good meta calls, then there is almost no limit to the decks that you can win with. Overall, what we all love about GOAT format is that it is a fun Yu-Gi-Oh format where we can all be ourselves. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to find out more about GOAT format, then you're going to love this video here, which provides a nice overview of the key decks in GOAT format's meta.